Dream Team number 6. Jean-Luc, Jay, and myself talking about America and everything else.
Old recording. There we go. So yeah, I mean, damn, like you guys met up. It was so cool to see that photo of you two in the car together.
It was wild, man. I was very pleased to see John when he turned up in Washington. It was like, oh man, it was like you know what? It was like I'd always known him, like even physically. It was weird.
Yeah.
Like, I suppose I do talk to him quite a lot. It was like meeting somebody, you know, off cinema, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, stop it! That's
was there like music kind of playing in the background? You kind of embraced.
John walked towards me. Behind him, there was explosions.
John just went right in for the kiss, didn't he? He just went straight in for the kiss.
And I was just swooning, you know. Anyway,
swooning away. But how was it? Did you go with the intention of meeting John, or were you in America for another reason? And I went with the intention of meeting John and John Warner. Like, so yeah. Which is crazy. I can't believe there was a selfie of you two together. I was just like, holy shit.
Well, ages ago, he said, come and visit me for the solstice. So we were like, oh yeah, all right, man. Yeah, we'll come and visit you. And then, but it happened. So it was kind of cool.
It's like, it's my birthday and the solstice. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Amazing. So what was it like?
It was. Well, go on, John. You say.
Well, I mean, we had like the travel fucking hell the whole time. It was just everything. Nothing was right. I mean, it was planes, trains, and automobiles. We could go into like.
Oh yes. Tell me everything.
It was wild, man. Travel disasters, mate. Like
disasters. Oh no, shit, really.
My US visa, like because you have to have as you know, you got to have that. What's it called, man?
The Esther. Bro, did they check yours? They didn't check shit when I went to New York. Like nothing. I just floated through.
Did you have an Esther?
I had an Esther. They didn't even look at it, mate. I put all my information. I had everything all nightly in nice little plastic folders, all responsible. And they didn't even check anything. I just kind of rolled straight through. I was pretty surprised.
Well, they checked mine, man. Like
they must have thought you looked dodgy.
Yeah, probably, man. I don't know.
Showing up on all lists.
I'll tell you what really shot. Yeah, I pinged the list again.
Pinged every blacklist.
My flight, it left it was supposed to leave at 7:45 a.m., which means you have to check in 3 hours before that, 4:45 a.m. So I got there on time, man. Like, I made a real effort. I was like, right, I'm one of the first here. I'm gonna.
Was it Heathrow? Were you at Heathrow or
Heathrow? Yeah. And obviously everything was screwed there. But like I was like, it's all good. So I got there and everything was fine. I was like first in the queue. And when I got to the front, the lady went, your Esther's not showing up. And I was like, what? It's actually because it's not showing up on your ticket. You're gonna have to like put in a request or something. So I had to put some request through. It didn't come through in time. So I missed my flight. So I had to get the next one.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but it was cool because they just gave it to me for free. And so I flew like a few hours later and it was all cool. But when I landed in Philadelphia and they asked me why I was there, who I was visiting. Purpose.
Yeah, they do all of that. Yeah.
So yeah, but it was kind of interesting. So I just told them what the purpose was. I'm meeting some really weird guys. Talking about some really strange things.
We're gonna get up to some weird shit in your country.
Do you know what he said to me? He goes, "Well, what kind of weird stuff?" And I was like, "Oh, like secret technology and things like that." Yeah. And then he was like what? And I said,
"Secret technology,
flying saucers."
And then he goes, "Oh, that's awesome, man!" Like he went from being all serious to being, "Oh, that's awesome, man." Hey, do you know anything about cryptids? I was listening to a thing about cryptids today, and I was like, "Well, I don't know that much about cryptids, but I think I'm in, aren't I?"
That's amazing. I love that. That's brilliant.
Yeah, I was pleased.
But then it gets fucked. It gets worse from there. Just wait.
Tell me your stories.
Well, then I landed in Philadelphia and I was supposed to then get a connecting flight to Washington, but they decided to cancel that flight.
Oh, shit.
So I arrive in Philadelphia, go through all that, and then go to get my next plane, which gets delayed every hour on the hour, basically, until they just cancel it. So I was like, for fuck's sake. Then I was like, right. So I had to get a train I had to leave the airport, get a train into Philadelphia, and then get a train from Philadelphia to Washington.
And then, like an hour and a half. So like 2 hours. Fuck? Yeah.
Then Warner picked me up in his Rolls Royce.
Well, there's always a silver lining. That's the silver lining, I guess.
I got picked up in a Rolls Royce from the station. That was cool. And then it was pitch black, but you could see all the crazy Washington monuments and the obelisk and everything. And so we drove back, and then I had a day basically sort of going around Washington, like all of the Masonic sites, all of the weird sort of crazy esoteric stuff that you can find there, and there's lots of it. Right. And like just got a flavor of the whole place. I did a 10.5 mile walk with Warner and his wife.
Nice.
Yeah, it was wild.
Nice.
And like I thought I was gonna die.
Okay, why?
Yeah.
Why?
10.5 miles, man. It was hot. No, it was awesome though. But then the next day, that's when Majerowski showed up.
Yeah, I just popped in. Like, I got the
little Majerowski.
Yeah, I just popped in. I was like, I got to the airport because Warner's like, get here the earliest you can. So I got like a 4 a.m. Flight, whatever. So I got landed, and it was like 8 a.m. or 7:30. I don't know, something like that. So I got a cab from there to where I had to go, and I get there and they're like, who are you here to see? And I'm like, I tell them, John Warner. They're like, okay, go on up. And I'm like, going up where? And, they tell me where to go. And they're like, just keep going. So I'm like, every door looks the same. And I'm like, there's no names on anything. And I'm like, I'm just wandering around with this big luggage, just dragging at 8 a.m., And finally, I knock on a door, and then another door opens up, and it's Jean-Luc and Warner. And I'm like, hey, what's up? So like, so I walk in, and the first thing Warner says to me is like, damn it, he's better looking in person. Shit.
Yeah. That's what he said to me as well. I was like,
the first thing he says to me, and I'm like, oh, thanks, Jesus. But it's like, you want coffee? And I'm like, yeah. And so he hands me a cup of coffee, and like, we literally, I just hugged everybody like I'd known him forever. And it was awesome. It was just like, let's hang out. And then it was amazing.
It was just fun. Like,
yeah,
just to sort of actually talk some of this crazy stuff that we always talk about online and things. But it was fun to see like Warner's life, because you get to see what it really is. Like a life in Washington DC amongst all this kind of stuff that is totally alien to me, and I'm guessing to John as well.
Yeah,
and like, but at the same time, then his life out in the countryside, because he lives out, he's got a place out in the countryside too.
Yeah.
And that's like a history of his sort of family, I guess, like running through the house. So it's kind of like I don't know if you could mind me saying this, but like it is like a kind of it's like a museum of
really
kind of starting in like the American Revolution, maybe before, but like and then kind of each room as you move through kind of goes through a time, and then it ends up in the Cold War. So the Cold War rooms kind of just got all the memorabilia from when his dad was a senator, and all the photographs on the walls, and the phones they had from the time, and all that stuff, like the weapons, and it was crazy.
That's pretty awesome, man. That's pretty cool.
It was cool, it's cool.
So what did you guys get up to? Did you go out and see anything strange in the sky at all during your time?
Oh yeah,
we did.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
We saw well, John brought his night vision.
Cool.
The psionics.
Wait, you brought your night vision, John.
Yeah, I brought my. So, well, before I back up, so when I got there, they're finally like, well, we're not walking 10 miles again. I'll give you the driving tour. So they threw Jean-Luc and I in the back, the Warner and his wife, and the Rolls Royce SUV that I didn't know existed, right? And I'm a car dude, and I'm like, that's not a thing, right? But no, it's a thing, right? They don't make so many of them. And if you look it up, it's a thing. But it's the best car I've ever seen in my life. But anyway, we're in the back, and so Warner's just flying through traffic, like, get the fuck out of the way. And we're driving like, there's the monument, there's this, that. Okay, look, there's the White House. Fuck, we can't go this way. Fuck it. I'm like, okay. We landed at the Scottish Rite Museum and Library, and we went up there and we're banging on the door and shit. And I'm trying to get us in, and Warner's outside yelling, "Odin!" and just like, It's just the craziest shit, man. It was so awesome. It was such a blast. So man. I got the condensed tour, like the that Jean-Luc
the Warner tour,
yeah, which is great. I mean, it's perfect. He's like, that's whatever. He's like, look at that, and there's all this stuff all over, like you normally wouldn't see, like just big cool shit on top of buildings that you wouldn't see, and so that was rad. But then we got to do that. So then we got to the farm, then we're like, do you want to go another 45 minutes out of the way, or do you want to just go to the farm? We're like, fuck it, let's just go to the farm, So we rolled up and it was amazing, man. It's beautiful, just beautiful, like deer running in front of you, just like, it looked like a dream, didn't it, Jean-Luc? It was like rolling hills and just.
Mate, it looked like Britain if Britain didn't have any people in it, and it was on a good day, on a sunny day. It was lovely, man. Like just rolling hills, green grass, like hay bales, blue skies.
Oh wow, sounds idyllic.
It was lovely.
Yeah, it was. So we get out there at night. Sorry, we'll go back to I bought my psionics, and I'm like, oh, we're gonna see some shit. Jean-Luc and I are like, I go, let's just make conscious efforts, just do a little bit of premeditation. We'll sit, we'll think about it, right? We'll just get something to come up maybe later tonight. Okay. So we go out there, and I got the psionics, and I'm like, I'm not seeing anything. And Warner's like, let me see that. And he goes, fuck that. And then he comes back with like this military case, drops it. Pops it open, and it's like the Gen 3 night vision, right? Like the legit, it says it's stamped on it, U.S. military property, like still stamped on it, right?
Wow, okay.
So I put mine up, and I'm like, you put these on, and it's like, holy shit! Like every spot in the sky is a star, right? And mine just looks like a beta cam from like 1982.
But the thing is, though, John's looks really good until you try a military grade.
So you try military grade, yeah.
It's like,
exactly.
Honestly, it's like taking blinkers off. It's like, whoa,
wow, that's crazy. So you saw some shit.
We saw one, like, I mean, I'm not going to say it was a UFO, man, because it wasn't a satellite and it wasn't a plane and it wasn't anything like that. And it was strange. It was fast. It was a fast moving thing, kind of just going across the sky. But and when we all saw it. So it was pretty cool.
So I had like my psionics right next to it. I can't see shit. put the other one on and it's right there, like literally it's like nothing. Wow. Yeah, I was like, I don't see anything. It was awesome. It was bright and it was moving.
That's pretty cool.
But I mean, I don't, like, it's one of those things where you just go, I don't know what it is, so like, again, like from any of those sort of sightings I've had where it's kind of like, it hasn't come down and beamed light on me and I haven't levitated up and met aliens or anything, man. Like, it's always just a light in the sky being weird or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, totally.
Who knows?
Other than the orbs. The orbs were a bit more explicit, but yeah.
Right.
Well, you had, that's different, isn't it? Like this idea of these orbs kind of descending on you and stuff. Like that's pretty personal.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, man, like I don't know, like, one of like Warner that he's probably talked about in the past and what he's written about is that he believes that that we've had a presence in space for a long time, like 70, 80 years since the end of World War II, basically. And so those kind of things are interesting when you put it into the context of seeing things like that. When stuff like isn't a satellite, and it's not a plane, and it's probably in orbit, maybe even that high. But it's like, well, what is it? Yeah, like what are all these things? So like, that got me thinking. It got me reading after I left about a lot of that stuff, and like the idea that we might have had space platforms out there for decades already, and like people working up on those things. Like, I don't know. There's a lot to it, man.
No,
if you want to hear about it, I can tell you more.
Well, one of the things that like Warner hit us up to early on, and then you kind of like found evidence of it, was the manned satellites.
Well, that's it. That's what I mean. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, because it's Forrestal, James Forrestal. Like I can't remember what date, what year he killed himself or was killed. 51, I think it was.
51, 52, something like that. Yeah.
In 1949, he started putting out some articles about having manned space stations. Like even back then, saying this is probably going to be possible in the next few years. And the idea, and he had pictures that were published, and they went out for maybe the space of about 1 week in 1949, and then nothing was ever spoken about it again. Not to that degree anyway. And then he kind of got wiped out. But the concept of those satellites was that they'd have people on them at like 1,000 miles from Earth, then 5,000 and 10,000, and you could basically make your way out there, yeah. And then some of them would have like small moons, like so basically little moons that people could live in. You know what I mean? It's crazy. And then also a death ray. So like they'll test the idea.
Of course, you've got to have your death ray, haven't you?
Well, that's it. So the idea that in orbit you could have these manned platforms that whenever anyone ever pipes up, you can zap them with a death ray. But this stuff was all being seriously thought about, and like off the back of the work of the Nazis, the Nazi scientists and stuff. So it's interesting that that stuff appeared and was quite explicit, and there was like a lot of drawings, a lot of blueprints drawn up, and all that stuff. And it got published, and then nothing after that. It was like, right, that gets pulled. No one ever talks about that again. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll show you. I'll send you the documents and you can have a look, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, totally.
It's bizarre though. I mean, because when you hear some of that stuff straight out, it's like, yeah, right. But then when you actually see some of the evidence of it, right? They manned. I mean, we can Google it now and check it out. But I mean, there was manned satellites in the 50s and 60s for sure. But I mean, there's people, and they would go up and they would change people. Like, I don't know how long they were, but they're in a little box or like a little cube or whatever up there, just flying around. Like, and I think a lot of it in the beginning was reconnaissance. So it was a lot of like, camera, like taking pictures and all that. Yeah. Yeah. And then they would send canisters down with film and shit in it. And like, think about that. I mean, if that was happening then there's, and we've always talked about that. Everything's 40 years old, right? So like
we've definitely got a more sophisticated presence in space than we advertised. It's just a question of how sophisticated is it? Are they going across to different galaxies? Are they using point-to-point travel? I mean, you have that whole Gary McKinnon, the UK hacker, who hacked into NASA. Non-terrestrial officers, all that kind of stuff. I've got a dog barking, so I'm going to mute myself. Let you guys talk for a sec.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. Yeah, I mean, the Gary McKinnon thing is interesting because that's, when I was reading this that Forrestal had written and put out there in 1949, it just reminded me of all that. It was kind of like, all right, well, maybe McKinnon was legit. Maybe that's why America was so desperate to get him, because that stuff's serious. I mean, if that's been happening for 80 odd years, I mean, I can believe it too. I mean, I can totally believe that they've been working on that for 80 years secretly. And
yeah,
a lot of the lights in the sky you see, and a lot of the things you might see in orbit that don't fit the satellite maps and stuff. Maybe that's that.
Maybe. I reached out to Gary for an interview. He actually did get back to me saying that he'd be up for a talk at some point. So I might get him on and. It would be interesting to hear that story. Yeah, it'd be interesting to hear that story again from his perspective. Did he serve any jail? Did he do jail time for that?
Yeah, he did. He worked only over here, and it was Theresa May as Home Secretary that got him off that. She was the one.
No shit, really?
Going to America, wow. Yeah, I mean, he might put me straight on it, but if the news at the time, she was like, she championed his cause. And said if he goes over there, he's just going to get put into a supermax.
Right. I mean, it's a shame nobody's doing that for Julian Assange. You see that he recently was basically given they gave the green light to send him off to the States.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. So he's been basically rotting away in Belmarsh prison for years and years and years, and now finally they've said, we can send him off. And you know what will happen to him? He'll end up in a black site somewhere. No one's ever going to see him again. It's a real tragedy, actually, what happened with Julian Assange.
He's already been through the ringer, hasn't he? Like the guy's
my God,
of a man compared to where he was.
I mean, he was basically a prisoner in the Ecuadorian embassy anyway. So he's just gone from prisoner to prisoner to prisoner for like the last 10 plus years.
Yeah. Man, it's
crazy.
The thing that baffled me about McKinnon was the thing that they used as the excuse was that he had Asperger's. I might be wrong.
Really? Was that
Yeah.
That's why they couldn't extradite him to America, because he had Asperger's. And I'm like,
in his defense, because his defense was, I did hack the CIA and the Pentagon and all that, but I only did it because I wanted to find out about UFOs and free energy. Yeah. He was like, I think that was just the thing. It was like, I want to find out if they have got free energy.
Right.
And if they have, I want that shit out there.
Yeah.
So obviously the UFO stuff's all tied up in that. So that was his defense. But then Theresa May, in his defense, said he was diagnosed with Asperger's, like high functioning, I guess. And the idea of him being extradited to the US, put into a federal penitentiary for like hardened prisoners, would be cruel. You know what I mean? And it worked by the sounds of things. Well, obviously, because he's free and he's in the UK.
Yeah. he's free. He's in the UK. There was also, because there was like an image, wasn't there? An image of something in space that was loading very slowly on the screen. I remember him describing how he was using that, like really old school, like modem, like slowly resolution loading bit by bit. And it started to show this cigar thing with like spheres, like spherical kind of like protrusions coming from it. And then that's when he got booted off the system,
which looks like one of these platforms, like one of these however many thousands of miles they put them out there, but it sounds like one of those. And the idea that you could have like these platforms in space that would be ejecting other ships off it, little platforms to launch off, starts to sound quite like some stuff people have seen.
You know what's been really overlooked recently is the Brazilian hearings. Nobody's really talking about them because there hasn't been a full there has been a full translation transcript, but nobody's really talking about it. And they brought up some interesting stuff. They were talking about, I don't know if you guys know any of the cliff notes, but they were talking about abductions. They were talking about craft that were like 1,000, like I think it was like 100 kilometers or something ridiculous in terms of kilometers long. And there was some pretty interesting stuff dropped in that. Nobody's really talking about it because there's not a full translation really available yet.
Is the vibe from Brazil though? Is it like that these are alien, or that they're?
Well, from what I've seen, because someone sent me like what seems to be a relatively loose but full transcript of the whole hearing, and I've been kind of skimming through it, and like some of it seems to just be them talking about known cases that people have heard of before, and kind of just mentioning the fact that that's the kind of thing that was reported this size and that. But then there seems to be other times where they're kind of indicating knowledge of abductions or acknowledgement of the existence of things like that. So it's kind of weird, man. It needs to be looked at properly, I think.
Well, what is the deal? I thought I skimmed something that it was like the people that were involved weren't actually active military or government or anything. They're all either retired or they actually never held any type of high positioning. Am I correct?
I'm not 100%. I need to skim through the whole thing really and read it in detail, but it just seems like it was a little bit more open than the US one, which is what I kind it predicted. I
don't think it was like an official thing. I think it was just I could be wrong. I think it was just a bunch of people got together and got up on somewhere and was like, we're talking about it. Either they had like general knowledge of it or maybe firsthand knowledge of it, but I don't think it was like an official like congressional put them up.
Yeah. I need to know who hosted it, because I swear they were having governmental hearings like in the Brazilian government. God. So I don't know if this is like just a preliminary thing that was less official, or if it was the actual thing.
They've always been into it, haven't they? The Brazilians have always been keen on it. Like
they've always been very open, historically been very open on it.
Well, the thing that got me was that when in Unidentified, the History Channel TTSA thing where they went there. And they pulled out a form or something, or to Elizondo, I can't remember what it was, but they were like, well, what do you do with these reports? They're like, well, we use this form that you guys gave us. And he's like, what do you mean? And it was like in 1967 or something, the US gave them like this form to fill out and contact them whenever they had any of these type of incidents.
In my mind, I just think like they're trying to, it's that whole like Nazis in South America thing. If you've got like craft getting used out of South America, it's quite handy to have US military forms that you have to fill out and give to them. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's just me being, that's the narrative that I quite enjoy, and the one that I probably believe the most. Yeah. Like, maybe there's some aliens in there somewhere down the track, but those sources and stuff coming out of South America, man, Nazis.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I know.
Those bloody Nazis.
It reminds me though of like where like I was in Jamaica, I don't know, 20 years ago or something, maybe less, and it was like marijuana is illegal, and I'm like, what? Everybody, that's like Jamaican. That's everybody smoking weed in Jamaica. Everybody's doing it, and I finally asked the guy, I'm like, well, what the fuck? And they're like, yeah, America gives us millions of dollars a year to make it illegal. So we make it illegal, but it's
wow.
So it's like they just hand us millions of dollars a year to keep it illegal so that it doesn't. I mean, So it doesn't come into the US, I guess, maybe, or something. I
wonder if they're paying the UK to do the same.
Like, or they're doing that. I mean, so they're doing that with UFO shit too. You know that they're going to the military and like, cool, we'll give you 10 million, or how about this new F-18 and all these guns and shit. If you see any of this stuff, it comes to us. You know, don't talk to Russia or China or anybody else.
Yeah, exactly.
To us, you know, like it comes down, it's ours.
But you know, like the idea of like, you know, if you've got conspiracies that are a bit hard to take, like, yeah, you got like platforms in space that resulted in a man being thrown out of a window to keep quiet, you know, and hackers getting extradited to the US decades later. And then you go back to the stuff like, you know, the idea you might have Nazi technology being used out of South America. And then it's a pretty good way of hiding it to create a huge mythos around it. Like, do you know what I mean? And like, and keep doing it since 1947 or whatever. It'd be like, well, you know what I mean? People went wild for the flying saucer craze. And this is interesting too, though, because the more things are talked about, and more things become part of like normal culture, you got the idea that you're creating them anyway, you know? Like the fact that people believe so much.
Kind of psychic manifestation.
Yeah, the idea of the manifestation stuff. And like, this has always been something we've talked about when we've got together. And this is the thing that stuck with me as well. It's like my little bugbear. I think that if there's anything kind of paranormal or alien about flying saucers as such, it's that. They're like a manifestation. They're maybe a reflection of something that we're doing or we're creating, which in itself is amazing because...
So you kind of you subscribe to the Jungian kind of framework.
Yeah, and I think more so recently because I've been reading a few new things because I always spent my time reading about Jung and the archetypes and the idea that you can build momentum and Carl Jung obviously had talked about that you can create a new reality from making enough people believe. But then I started reading about obviously talked about tulpas and like Tibetan Buddhism and the creation of that stuff, but then taking it sort of more to nowadays. There's a guy that I've been reading a little bit about called Nick Land. He's a British guy. And he was at Warwick University back in the 90s. And he really got into like the idea of the more sort of esoteric chaos magic, that kind of stuff. Really went to town with it. And like he was a philosopher. And he ended up, I've made some notes here because I find it really interesting, but he ended up founding this thing called the Cybernetic Culture Research Unit.
That sounds awesome.
Whilst he was and the idea of it was that he was with a few other dudes trying to kind of almost like create new realities. So like it says here, like there's a quote here that says they had unattributable arcane writings telling of strange inhuman entities, hyperstitional personages, and syncretic pantheons, which are uniquely disturbing and compelling. It's as if the group had collectively accessed hitherto undiscovered realms of bizarre archetypes. They successfully smeared the line between the real and what they called the hyperstitional, fictions that make themselves real through a collective practice. So that's basically like, I don't know if you understood that when I was saying it, but the idea that the more we talk about it, you guys still there?
Yeah, man. Yeah. We're listening to you. Can you not see us?
Yeah, I've come back. That's because I went off the screen and I'm laying with technology.
It's cool, dude. It's like, it's the whole kind of like thought, word, and then deed, like the kind of steps of manifestation. And it's like threefold. And you think about things like the slogans we hear, like "build back better" and all this kind of stuff. Like it's always being drilled into you. These kind of easy to digest slogans. Trust the science, build back better.
This guy coined the phrase hyperstition. So the idea of taking like a superstition and taking it hyper. So basically it was like, right, well, let's make this a real thing. Let's create a world where this is real. I guess like a really advanced LARP, starting on a small scale. We'll believe it's real. Then we'll make other people believe it's real. And we'll keep going. And as long as we all believe it's real, maybe it'll become real.
Yeah, so that's like, kind of that's a thing.
That is a thing. Yeah,
it is. But it's like I think what they found and what other people who've got into this way of thinking, because I guess it's kind of like the Kabbalah. It's Kabbalistic stuff, innit? It gets down to the idea that names and words and numbers
can have power and influence, you know.
But they can have power that can then be affected temporarily. So it might be something that affects time in the past, which will create something in the present, which will create a new future. So like, kind of like, can you hear my family just going wild out?
did hear a little bit of that, yeah.
It's because they can hear what I'm saying and they just think it's mesmerizing.
That's what.
Have a Love Island starting, man.
Yeah, but maybe Love Island started.
But I think it's just wild because I've been doing a lot of reading again about TTSA. And what's been going on with that narrative, and mate, some of that is wild. Like it's so wild. When you start
give us a sprinkle.
All right then. So Catalina Island was a focus for that project, wasn't it? And in the TV show, you had the idea. You saw the video of Lou and the dude with the beard, Sean Cahill, going out to the island, and it was this magical place. Well, that Catalina obviously has got history in terms of its. Apparently, some people believe it's an entrance to the Hollow Earth, but it's also the place that Ron Hubbard wrote Dianetics.
Oh,
so it's almost like the place that Bible of Scientology was created. Yeah, right?
Oh, it always comes, but all roads lead back to Scientology, man.
Yeah, and then when you start looking at the way that names can lead back to other things, like Dianetics leads to Catalina, if you want it to, but then you can look at how Ron Hubbard then has a history with, he was apparently brought into naval intelligence by Admiral Nimitz. So Nimitz, Forthorns, who apparently prior to that had been signed into all of the naval intelligence work by Forrestal. You know what I mean? Yeah. So these things start to pick up.
Click it into place. Click it into place.
And then today, like, even as innocent as you want to take it, I started like, me, I like to research. This isn't anything new, but Alex Dietrich, right? All right, Alex Dietrich. Her grandfather, I think, was he's like a pioneer of transplantation. Yeah, so he did the first ever transplants. Yeah,
right.
You know that
organ transplant, right?
No, yeah.
Kidneys and I
didn't know that.
Well, his name is Thomas Starzl. I mean, this isn't a secret. I think lots of other people have read into this, and she's talked about it, I think, too. So he was Thomas Starzl, right? And his dad was a guy called Roman Starzl, who in the 30s wrote stories about space bases, aliens, all that stuff in American sort of pulp fiction.
Click.
Yeah. Then when you take it a bit further on, right? Yeah, in references to Starzl and that sort of thing, like what's weird, there's a TV show in 10 years ago, or I don't know, I didn't watch it, but it's called the 4400. Have you heard of that?
Mm-hmm.
No. You might have mentioned it. Maybe
isn't it like everybody on Earth is dead except for 4,400 people, that the chosen people of God or something like that? Or I
haven't watched it, but I read the synopsis. Because when I was reading about, because I need some, it's 4 seasons of the thing, so I need to take some time out to watch it. But the concept in that show was that all these people, 4,400 people, suddenly reappear in present day America. But they've been missing since 1946.
Ooh.
So the mystery is, where have they been? But then what happens, I think, is, from reading the synopsis, is that some of them come back, they all come back with powers of some sort, psychic powers or some kind of, that kind of element of power anyway. Excuse me. And in the show though, right, they talk about, there's an episode that explains the way that this power and what it is a part of a chemical process in the brain that's been changed for these 4,400 from wherever they've been. And it's being extracted by black ops people, to create super soldiers, psychic super soldiers. And the episode that explains what that process is called the Starzl mutation. So you start looking at it, right? And you just go, fucking hell, man. And apparently, when you start looking into the 4,400, it's a critique of Scientology, right?
Oh my God.
Transhumanism, people being altered, all that stuff, yeah? Now, I'm not saying anything. I'm just commenting on my hyperstition. And I'm saying that all of it looks like numbers, words, dates, and
the old sacerdotal knights of national security.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Oh, wow!
The old Discordians.
Discordians, yeah.
The Blue Brethren, all the fuckers, right?
So this goes deeper. But yeah, it just goes really fucking deep. And you know what? Most people will just look at it and be like, that's nuts. It's just nuts.
Crazy, John. You crazy, Junk.
But it's not when you lay it all out. But it's just like, this isn't that weird. To me, it just seems.
I think the concerning thing is there's certainly data points to track, and there's certainly kind of like, as we were just kind of highlighting, there are elements of thing. It all kind of clicks into place a little bit too neatly with Scientology and the connections to like these authors, and it's all just a little bit too coincidental.
Well, yeah, the military-industrial complex is all, wrapped up in all that too, and any of the three-letter agencies and the occult and all that stuff. But they're all hand in hand. All of them are together. Jean-Luc and I learned a lot hanging out with Warner and his wife, and you get to learn about America, which is hilarious.
I did.
You did. And we got to do some crazy shit.
I got to eat a lot of pizza and burgers.
Oh yeah, dude. Same here.
Oh, that's right. You just came here too, man. You guys were both just came.
Yeah, you were in New York, weren't you?
Yeah.
Just got back from New York City. New York was great, man. I had an awesome time. It was such a crazy thing though, because the person that I went to meet, I met them in Egypt. That was like
we didn't even talk about your Egypt thing. Jesus. We saw passages into Egypt that nobody gets to see. God, the fucking man. Pyramid that nobody gets to see. All right,
dude, it was kind of incredible. Like the access we got to certain places and like the people I was with. I'm having him on Friday to have a chat. Timothy Hogan, Grand Master of the Knights Templar, and he's got he's just got a laundry list of different secret societies he's been involved in since early family, his whole family, and he was just this encyclopedia of knowledge. And so I had these incredible people, Johnny Enoch, all these guys there, and we went to these amazing temples. The one I put out on my YouTube channel, which I think was probably the coolest temple we went to, was the Temple of Hathor.
Oh, of course.
And that was Dendara, and Dendara Temple. It's attributed to Hathor, and what a beautiful temple. But then we got access to this kind of hidden place that we weren't people don't usually get access to. You just had to bribe the guard with a little bit of money, and you managed to get. They kind of took this staircase thing and placed it there, and you go up into this little hole in the ceiling basically, and it's above everything else. So below, in the substructure, in the subterranean area of the temple, you've got all of these amazing hieroglyphs where you have the kind of infamous light bulbs, those giant light bulbs that they're holding with the snake inside it, the kind of the lotus flower light bulb. And obviously it's our own personal interpretations. And there was, I didn't really know what I was talking about. These guys had way more knowledge, but it kind of seems like it's a story about rising consciousness. The whole imagery seems to be almost depicting the growing of knowledge, the growing of consciousness from these deities providing knowledge through these almost what look like technologies. But then when you get access to this upper level, which you're not normally allowed to get into, it's you have all of the what they call the netters, which are I think the priestesses, lining this little corridor, and then at the end you've just got Hathor's face and a star, a stargate, what they kind of call a stargate, because it's literally got this little foot and star hieroglyphs next to it, which Mohammed Ibrahim, our guide, said literally translates to Stargate. And it's above Hathor's head in this sacred chamber at the top of the temple you're not meant to really get access to. And that was incredible. And we got to go to the Giza Plateau and have it shut down to the public. We had the Giza Plateau shut down for 2 hours to the public, and we had full access to the Giza Pyramid, the Great Pyramid of Giza, and then we had an initiatory experience in there as well, which was just incredible in the King's Chamber.
Did you drink? Did you drink blood? What happened?
No, I didn't drink blood. No, I didn't.
When you say initiatory experience, what are we saying?
It was just a harmless orgy.
Yeah.
L. Ron Hubbard showed up when Lamb came out, and
no, I mean, like, I'm not sure if I can like say about the specifics, but it wasn't anything crazy. It was just kind of like a knighting type ceremony and like an initiatory ceremony that Timothy Hogan was kind of the leader of. But it was incredible, especially when I was sitting just outside the King's Chamber waiting for my turn to go in and hearing the ceremony going on, and you're sitting in like the center of this pyramid and the acoustics are crazy, and you can just hear this like kind of chanting from what's going on in there, and you hear it echoing through this pyramid, and you're just like, what am I doing? This is like something that would have been happening thousands of years ago in here or something, you know? So that was amazing. And we saw a UFO. We saw a UFO. Yeah. Rad. Yeah. We saw something really weird, and the whole kind of story behind it makes it even more interesting because it was like 3 different synchronicities. I'm just going to clear my throat real quick. Yeah, it was like 3 different synchronicities at the same time. So this is when we went out to the Saqqara Desert, and we went to the Bent Pyramid and the Red Pyramid. So there's these 2 pyramids in the Saqqara Desert, and the Bent Pyramid is the video where I just die of heat exhaustion at the end. Was like, just like, dude, like that place was crazy because it was so
when you were inside walking up, like
like going through the tunnels and going down the mine shaft kind of thing. Like
that was wild.
Because it was so hot out in that desert. And like by the time we got into the pyramid, my bottle of water was like hot, like actually hot. You couldn't even really sip it. And because I was so excited, I was filming. I was the only one who was like, you know, talking to a camera, and so I wasn't even thinking about all the energy I was expending going down like, this is crazy, talking to the camera and showing everyone. And then we like kind of go through all these tunnels. It was so cool and I was loving it. But then we get to the center of this pyramid. I'm not gonna lie, it's just a fucking empty room. Like, it's just like there's nothing in there.
Like, so I get aliens. Where's the spaceships?
Where's I don't know, you know, but I mean, I got there and I was like sweating and dead. And then I realized like there's no other way out other than the way we came, which is like all the way back through these tunnels and then up that mine shaft that we came down, which is
sweating again.
Dude, I swear to God, like that, there's like a last, I don't know if you saw the whole video, but right at the end, I'm like, I'm trying to talk. I'm just like, just came out the bend pyramid. I don't fucking know. I just pouring bottles of water on my head and shit. But when we left that place, what happened was we'd gone to I'm trying to remember the order of this now. I think that was last because we went to this place called the Seraphim, and this place was like a temple in the Saqqara Desert. And it's an amazing temple because it's kind of set up with all of these different structures that are like musical instruments, and it channels frequency, like resonance and tonality acoustics. There's like certain corners where you can put your head into these little kind of chambers, and you can literally hear it's like
no shit.
Yeah, like a binaural like tonality like playing just from the acoustics of like the wind and the air getting channeled through this temple. It's incredible. It's all set up to channel harmonics, and then there's literally like representations of instruments all the way through this temple. And so they're saying that this whole thing is built to channel harmonics. And it was in this temple in the grounds of this temple, and we had a few really interesting people with us. One of them is a friend of mine from like a little chat group on Facebook with like Ross Coulthart and a few others. And one of them's JP Haig, and he's a lawyer. He's British, but he lives out in Mauritius. And he was the guy that he invited me to Egypt. He was in that chat and he was like, "Oh, I'm going to Egypt." And I, checked it out and decided to join them. And he's a really interesting guy because he's very intuitive, very sensitive, and he does seem to get like flash images and visions, really, like in a sense. And it was really weird because we were in this place and he had gone off and he was just sitting down for a moment, having a moment to himself. And he came back and he was like, "I swear that I had this really strong image of an Egyptian child, like a royal Egyptian child, like a prince, looking up at the sky. And there was a giant saucer like hovering above him. And there was almost like some level of energy transference happening between the child and this saucer. I just got this really strong image of it." And the guide that we were with was like, "Well, that's interesting because around here there is actually a depiction of the family that were once here." And it was like, there was 2 children, like these statues, they were broken, but you could see the children's feet. So there was him having this vision, then this guide basically pointing out that there was indeed a royal family that once lived there. But then when we were leaving the Saqqara Desert, and we were going past the pyramids. Timothy Hogan read this transcript from like some part, like I can't remember the specifics of it, but it was something that had been written down in dynastic Egyptian times, and basically it was a telling of an event that took place, and it was about this saucer. There was like the fiery discs in the sky that came over, and it was basically like he was reading it verbatim, and it was saying, and like as the fiery discs approached, there was much rejoicing, and all manner of things were occurring, and there was much celebration, all this kind of stuff. And literally, as he finished saying that, he went, "Oh my God, I think I just saw a UFO." And we all looked out of the window, and we were literally on this bus leaving the Sahara Desert. And as you looked out the window, the pyramid was right there, like the red pyramid. And it was a crystal clear blue sky. And then there was this bright white flash of light in the sky. And we all saw that. I was like, "Oh yeah, no, I saw a flash of light." And it was like here. And then over here, there was another bright white flash of light. And then over here, there was another bright white flash of light. And there was about 4 within the space of about 5 seconds, bright white flashes just kind of happening above the pyramid as we left it. And like, I'm sorry, but you couldn't see any sort of plane. It stopped after those 4 flashes, couldn't see anything else. Crystal clear day. And it was just the fact that we'd had this weird synchronicity series where this guy had a bit of a vision about this royal, and then this guy showed us the statues, and then Timothy reads this like kind of testimony about an experience from the Egyptian times, and boom, we get these flashes above the pyramids. So like, that was the only thing we saw, but yeah, it was pretty wild.
Maybe you created your own thought forms, like
maybe
the situation.
Maybe
pretty amazing stuff.
Dude,
so
that's
like,
rad.
when you were over there, like,
yeah,
what is the, like the idea that you were talking before about how like you saw all the artwork and the idea that it was like an idea of evolution of consciousness.
Yeah.
Or being given to them by these gods, ending with Hathor. I don't know, but do a lot of those people over there believe that the gods were real, or is it a metaphor for knowledge?
So, I think traditionally they're seen more as a metaphor for different, either knowledge or seasons, or things like that, like kind of like the Greek the Greek pantheon of gods. But I think that, at least from Muhammad Ibrahim's perspective, and I'm going to interview him soon because he's an interesting guy. He came up through traditional Egyptology, like through the proper academic channels, was well respected, and then started to feel like this was not the true representation of the story of Egypt, and that they went a lot deeper than this, and that he truly believes that there was a pre-dynastic, pre-cataclysmic civilization that the Egyptians were basing a lot of, like the dynastic Egyptians that we know of were basing their civilization on, and that that they settled around the pyramids, they didn't build the pyramids, and that the Sphinx is a lot older and it's been modified. So he believes that there probably was some level of interaction between us and other intelligences in the universe, but I think traditionally they don't. I think it's just seen like most other folklore gods today by traditional academics. But I don't know what the locals think. That's one thing I regret not doing, because I mixed with the locals a lot. I went out and had some awesome experiences, but I didn't really ask how they felt about the history of Egypt, and I wish I'd kind of done that and seen if they were like, "Oh yeah, I don't think it's real, I think it's a different story," or whatever. But
I guess I mean, from what I've seen, especially with the Hathor stuff, is that over the years there's been a concerted effort to sort of smash the faces off a lot of the idols, and like I mean, Egypt, I'm guessing, like, it's predominantly Islamic.
There's some interesting, I mean, obviously you don't know what the reason behind it could be, because it could literally just be like religious differences, and hundreds and thousands of years ago people damaged stuff for different reasons. But there was some really interesting, we went to the Temple of Horus, and that was full of like redactions, I guess you could say, because there was like hieroglyphs all over the walls, and then there's just like these solid bits where it's just like blanked out, like it just been blanked out. And we were looking at that, and this is an interesting place, the Temple of Horus, because there's actually an area that's, again, not usually available to the public, and we weren't able to get there because it was so busy when we went, because it was literally just me, Johnny, JP, and Timothy Hogan. We went off on our own little adventure to go to the Temple of Horus, and it was so busy. But Johnny's got video of him when he was last in Egypt, and he managed to bribe the guard, and the guard takes him through and like opens up this little area, and you can hear him in the video saying, like, very, very secret. Be quiet, very secret. And in this room, there's like a whole telling of the story of Atlantis. By the looks of it, it's like a destruction of a civilization, and it's all over, and there's stars all over the ceiling, and it's a very interesting room. Wow. So I think that, you know, you have, and again, some of the evidence that points towards there being some older civilization is a lot of the temples that we went to. Muhammad would take us round to the back, and there'd be these areas where it's older brickwork, much older brickwork from what would seem to be a much older time than the temple that you're seeing right next to it. But the actual stonemasonry and the sophistication is more sophisticated than the temple that you're seeing that's apparently younger. So it's weird, because there's evidence of what looks like far more advanced techniques, but they're from an older set of buildings than these temples. So there is definitely scattered evidence that there is something more advanced going on there. And then we did, you know, see these amazing gates that, I mean, you know, the part of me that really wants to believe in it is like, holy shit, this looks like a Stargate, you know, because like Muhammad saying, like, you know, here you've got the hieroglyphs that says Stargate, and it's literally like these big gates with all these symbols on and like stars etched into them, and like these on both sides you have the star and the foot, which apparently literally translates to Stargate, and they're all made out of these like piezoelectric materials like rose quartz granite, and like made out of highly conductive materials in these temples that channel frequency and resonance and acoustics. And I think, like, you know, just a shot in the dark, maybe they really were like masters of sound and resonance and vibration and oscillation and frequency. And I think that if you're a master of that, there's I think if you're a master of that, you probably, like, you can use crazy technologies. You can use materials in ways that we don't understand, and maybe you can open portals. Maybe they were shown this from the gods, you know, that came down and were like, here, this is how you make these things. Who knows? Man. But
I believe that.
It was incredible, man. Like we just went. I was so lucky to be on that trip. You know, a very generous Patreon helped me out with actually getting out there. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to afford it. So I'm extremely lucky to be able to have that opportunity. But we went to so many places. I lost like so many days of sleep, man. I didn't sleep like 2 days in a row for sure. At one point, I was just completely awake, going out to these temples and then coming back to the hotel and spending like, you know, 5 hours talking to like Timothy Hogan about the occult history of the world, and like, just like no time to sleep, man. Like just fully engaged in it. And it was wild. I mean, honestly, right, all of the temples and stuff were amazing, but I think the trippiest thing was waking up drifting down the Nile. Like that was just crazy when we were on the Nile boat, and like you just wake up in the morning and open the curtains and it's just like you're just going down the countryside in the middle of Egypt. Like it's like, what? So crazy. Plus it's really easy to get hash out there.
Nice. Good.
Like really easy. Every horse rider, man, because like they have
you just invalidated any UFO experience. So any skeptic not like, so
we're sleep deprived and totally buzzed out on hash. I perfect. The perfect storm.
The Stargate's real.
My God, the Stargates are real. Well, it probably helped. It probably helped loosen me up for the experience, but you know,
for sure, man. Well, the acoustic stuff, like that is it, isn't it?
It's crazy.
That's where it all ends. Like,
also, real quick, just to interject very quickly, in the Temple of Hathor, that's where you have those really weird hieroglyphs of like the helicopter and the car, They pointed it out to us, and it's like really weird when you see it with your own eyes. It's like, oh, that's like legitimately like an Apache helicopter. What's going on there?
Attack ship.
It's mental. It's weird, dude. It's weird. It is weird.
I mean, that sort of stuff. It's kind of like, how do you explain that? I mean, unless, of course...
Well, what Muhammad explained it as, what Muhammad said was that there is actually... you can see the underlying symbols that were there, and then they applied some other things on top, which give it this appearance, but then it's never been done in any other temple. It's only here that they've made these weird corrections, because the actual symbols that you can see underneath this apparent correction, they crop up in lots of different temples all over the place. But this is the only place where they've made these weird corrections, and it's the fact that they're all next to each other. So you've got literally like this weird helicopter looking thing, a weird car looking thing, what looks like an aeroplane, and they're all next to each other. It becomes a little bit too weirdly coincidental. So who knows why they decided to do that, but the Temple of Hathor is a temple of knowledge, and it's a temple of like, kind of secret knowledge. That's the way it was explained to us from, they have a lot of symbolism in terms of like the pillars there. So the pillars are in different temples. Some of them have like this open appearance and some of them are closed. And that's a symbol of the papyrus and the secrets written on the papyrus. And if it's open, it means that this is a place where things are openly discussed. And if it's closed, it means that this is a place of secrets. And like, that Hathor's temple is all closed up like that. So it's a place of secrets. Who knows? Maybe they were seeing into the future and they just like etched into the stone this correction, but it's really weird because it's up in like the top right corner, really high up, just like up in this little corner. So it's super weird that it even exists, to be honest.
Well, you know what's weird is like, it reminded me of this. We went to Werner took us to the Washington Cathedral in Washington DC.
Oh,
which is amazing. And talk about the residents and like the construction, and like I stumbled up into like this area that's supposed to be closed, and I'm like, oh, this is a coffin. Oh, it's Woodrow Wilson. It's a president. There's a lady like taking a picture from the other side, and I'm like, how did I get back here?
Man, just look, you were arrested, John.
No shit, I was just stumbling around shit. Like, I didn't know you couldn't go back there.
Oh man,
what's interesting about all that? I mean, because the links to like everything you're talking about, so obviously we were looking at the same things, but in Washington,
right?
So like, like Hathor, for example, when you go down to the Scottish Freemasonry Museum, is that what it is? That what it was?
Right. Yeah. So the Scottish Rite Museum,
like on the
library
outside the library, not museum, library. Outside they've got the sphinxes, and nestled sort of in between the two front legs of the sphinxes is Hathor. So you look, it's just like bloody, it's everywhere, man. And then like we went down to the university. Sorry, the day before I went down to the Washington Museum and Art Gallery, and the place is just full of like ISIS statues and references to ISIS, and it's just the whole thing. You know what I mean? It's wild.
Yeah,
which you'll know more about. Even she's right behind you now.
Oh yeah,
she's right. So I'm just sorting.
There she is. Where's he gone?
We had to go make a wee.
He's gone through a Stargate. It's got some special technology in it that flushes water.
Oh yeah, dude, that was a great time though, man. I mean, we had fun. It was such a good time.
This light, 1 second.
Yeah.
That's better. We did have fun, man.
There we go.
It was cool. Like it was it was a lot. Again, it was like a lot of sort of mind-blowing conversations, wasn't it?
Like, Like I was saying, we should have recorded. Like I could have recorded any of our conversations. It went on for hours and hours and hours, and it would have been most of the most mind-blowing shit that normal people would be like, "You guys are what are you talking about?" Like.
Well, it's just getting a feel for the fact that, like, do you know when like the power structures of the world, when it comes down to it, it's just like a few families and always has been, and like instead of being, well, we're not amongst that because Warner certainly doesn't consider himself part of that, but the history of his family is, and like, and then going to Washington and seeing places named after his relatives and his dad. And
it's wild, man.
And he's sort of going around. It's like, come on, man, like this whole place is living and breathing, and he's a big part of it, like. So to go there and see how family names can basically map out a future for an entire country, and because that country is America, the entire world, so see that sort of in the flesh with like the actual real history of it, and the things like being in the house that.
Totally.
Some of the stuff went on and it was crazy, man. It was crazy.
Especially, how long were you out there for, dude?
7 days a week.
Yeah, a week.
Yeah. Which it would have been awesome if I could have stayed longer, because most of it was spent like waiting for missed flights and stuff.
By the sounds of it, dude. Yeah, you had a rough ride on the old transport.
You did get to hang out over at my place for at least one night.
That was awesome. I went down to I went to John's place. And,
to the crazy golf course house, man. I love it.
When you see this, in this background he's got going on there,
yeah.
Looks quite like humble, doesn't it?
Is it massive in there? Is it absolutely massive?
It's like
pan the camera. Let me pan the camera, man. Let's see the size.
There's so much shit.
Look, he's all humble.
Here we go. Look at it. Look at that. Look at it. It's huge. Could fit a jumbo jet in there.
You can't really tell what's going on, but there's a cinema there.
Oh my God.
Guitars over here. And this is just his basement. This is like...
That's so cool, dude. That's so cool, dude.
Yeah, but then he's got his car. He's got his Hummer.
Oh yeah. Well, I've only seen his Hummer in a video of him running after it before it smashes into his house. I think
that was my Jeepster.
That was a Jeepster. Yeah.
Jean-Luc got to drive the Hummer.
That was fun.
Yeah,
got to shoot guns.
Yeah. You got to shoot guns. That's one thing I didn't get to do.
Oh yeah,
I really wanted to shoot some guns. What guns did you shoot?
All of them.
Oh mate, I shot
all of them. How many guns do you have, my man?
I shot a cowboy gun, like a 6-shooter, a Colt. Was that a Colt?
Yeah, 45. Revolver.
Colt 45. That was a great gun. That was a good fun to shoot. And then I shot a Beretta. What was that one, man?
That was a Springfield 9mm. Yeah.
That was my favorite, man. I like that. Had like a lot of power. Like
the AR-15.
And then I fired the...
Oh, shit. You got the AR,
controversial AR-15.
The old country. Yeah. Very controversial, but still pretty fun to fire.
Yeah, 40 cal.
Well, that's it, man. And the thing, that's the thing in the UK, that stuff is... You just
just never see it. It's like it doesn't exist. It's like a fantasy.
Well, the stuff that we were doing, like out at your mum and dad's place, like shooting those guns. If you tried to do that in the UK, it'd be like you're going to jail for 15 years.
Go to jail. you'd have like special forces in your garden in like 20 minutes, man. Like they'd be there.
It's wild. It's wild.
Yeah, it's a totally different world in that sense.
Well, one of my dad's buddies was there hanging out, and he's like, "What do you got? Oh, I didn't know you guys were shooting." And he pulls out a gun. He goes, "Pop up!"
Just pulls it off his waist.
His waist. Yeah, his waist. He just pulls it out. Like, yeah.
That's it. Yeah. Let me get a few of these caps off.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm sitting there going, "This feels so wrong," but it feels.
Oh right. Man, I wish I was there. That would have been so fun. I love it.
Driving Hummers, shooting guns. Like I got myself like a kind of a deer skin hat, like one of the beaver skin hats,
coonskin hat. That's
really,
I went for it.
Immersed yourself in the culture.
I did, boy.
Out out there shooting
and everything.
Yeah.
We went to Dinosaur Land in Virginia and everything.
Amazing. Dinosaur Land. What's Dinosaur Land?
It's a
land of dinosaurs, you idiot.
Yeah.
like 50s style kind of little fun centers.
It's like concrete dinosaurs that you could walk
through. Badly made T-Rex and stuff, but
I love that stuff. Better. That's great. He took you out to the park, did he? That's nice.
Yeah, he said he goes like, "I love it here." You're like, my wife really wanted me to bring you here. Obviously, it's somewhere that he enjoys going down to Dino.
Yeah. He was just playing. He just played on the swing for 20 minutes, and then it was like, right, it's time to go.
Got a burger, went home.
Yeah,
that's it.
Oh, it was a great time, man. We took a scenic drive up. I can't remember. Was that Mile Drive or something like that?
Yeah.
It was like to a park.
Is it Shenandoah? What's that place called?
Shenandoah State Park.
Shenandoah State Park.
Yeah, and it's like a drive that's on the top of the mountains. It goes all around, and it's amazing. It's beautiful.
Nice.
To do that and hang out. We did all kinds of cool stuff, man. It was beautiful. But a lot of times we were just hanging out on the farm talking about crazy, weird shit.
Of course, just basically doing what we're doing now, but in a way cooler setting, man. That's awesome. Yeah. Well, I had a interesting time in Blackpool as well because I went to
you met Rick Doty.
Yeah, I was hanging out with.
I was just like, what?
I was sitting there sipping gins with Rick Doty in the hotel after the conference and shit, man. Wow. I had a very weird time. I didn't expect it because, right. So John, you won't know this, but Blackpool is like probably one of the worst places in the entire world. No offense. Some offense to Blackpool in all honesty, because like it is shocking. It's shocking. Okay. It's a victim of the decline in local tourism, because basically back in like the day before people could afford to fly off to different countries, our seaside towns were like the go-to spot to go on a vacation, right? To the beaches and stuff. So these places were thriving, and Blackpool was one of those places. But after people started flying off, they went down. So a lot of our seaside towns are a bit rough these days, and Blackpool is the roughest of the rough. It's an interesting place, but basically, like when I got there, right, it was absolutely pissing down with rain, and it was miserable looking. And I because I'd like done Egypt, and I was going to New York within like literally about like half a week from the Blackpool thing. I was like, right, I've got to be really careful with my money right now. So I booked into a cheap hotel, and it was, you know, if you book into a cheap hotel in Blackpool, then you're in for a ride. So like, you know, turned up in this little like
people.
Yeah. Basically, no, like it was just like this little broom cupboard, and so I was just like, oh my god, this sucks. And then Johnny Enoch, who was like doing a presentation at the conference, and he's the guy that I met out in Egypt and became friends with. He's a wicked dude, love Johnny, and he was like, right, come down to the conference. And I was like, yeah, all right. And I was like, oh, a little bit, man. This don't know if I want to be here. And anyway, the conference was wicked. Like they put a lot of money into it, but Johnny introduced me to like a bunch of really good people, because obviously he was a speaker there, so he was kind of like getting me to shake hands with the Gaia CEOs and stuff like that. It was pretty cool. But then he was like, you got to meet my friend Vishal. He's a prince of India. And I was just like, okay. so like there's this guy there who had like basically funded a lot of the conference, and he's a legitimate prince in India. He's like his title. I didn't know India has royalty. But yeah, they have like royalties in different provinces and stuff. Oh, okay. And so like
tribal,
like
royal family.
Yeah, well, but he like, you know, like legit like prince, like with like crazy stuff in India, like massive palace and stuff and all that. And anyway, we ended up chatting, and he was a really cool dude, and he likes to smoke a bit of weed. So we went off and we had a joint together. Right? Exactly. Even Princes of India smoke weed. Get over it. It's 2022. So like, you know, we were outside. We were outside having we were having a joint and chatted. And then anyway, he was like, so where are you staying, bro? And I was like, oh, I'm in some crappy hotel. Like, it's just like some really cheap thing. And he was like, no, forget that. You stay in our hotel tonight. And I was like, really? And like, anyway, like later on in the evening, he comes and finds me. He's like, bro, we're going back to the hotel. And he swear to God, he drives me to a 5-star hotel and books into a 5-star suite for the whole weekend. And this is the same hotel. This is the hotel where all of the talent are staying, like Rick Doty and all of the other guys who were at the conference. So I was like rolling up to the conference in these massive blacked out cars and shit. Like, dude, yeah, you know, all the spies and stuff. And like, I was just kind of rolling up to this conference with like this Prince of India and his driver and his ridiculous cars, like kind of going, getting ushered into like the VIP bit and like loving it and making all these contacts, and then sitting in the bar afterwards at the hotel after they'd all come back and like kind of talking to these dudes, sitting down with Rick Doty and stuff. It was just like, what is happening? Like how did I started off in this terrible little room in Blackpool in this crappy little hotel, and ended up in like this 5-star hotel with the Prince of India and Rick Doty.
Wow. No
like,
way, man.
How could you ever predict such a thing?
Did you suddenly start to feel tired and woozy? And the next thing you know, like there's lights.
I was feeling a little Havana syndrome. I won't lie. You know,
that's feeling that. You can trust me. I'm Rick Doty. Yeah, you can trust me. Okay.
You know what? He was a very nice guy. I'll tell you that. He was very approachable and easy to talk to. But it was an interesting conference, man.
I'm interested.
Did you bring up Paul Benowitz? Did you bring up Benowitz?
I mean, he
yeah, did you?
Did you say anything about Paul
by the shoulders? I was like, what did you do? What did you do? No, he actually his whole like thing at the conference was about Paul Benowitz. Like it was about that whole situation, and he was talking about it. But I mean, he did leave out a few details that seemed pretty key. The fact that the dude killed himself, like that kind of is a key detail. But I mean, like, it's hard to know, right? Because he kind of softens the edges of it, obviously talking about the situation, saying that he was only doing his job,
my job,
he all that, and but he outside of like all of that, he's a really nice guy. Like, he's a really nice guy. He's super friendly, happy to talk to everyone, sits down, doesn't just kind of start dominating the situation at all. He's just a pretty chill guy, likes to have a drink. And we were just kind of kicking back at the hotel and chatting amongst all the other people that were there. But I mean, I didn't really have like super in-depth conversations with him, but we sat down for a little bit and I kind of talked about the fact that I'm in this community.
Being a cocktail man. I bet
he was. Yeah, he did ask for something they didn't have, to be fair. He was
an umbrella in his drink.
He asked for something.
What do you mean you don't have that?
I got to have an umbrella in my drink. Come on.
You got a 1732? What the hell's wrong with
I'm a mirage, man. Where's my umbrella?
Man. Well, there's only so much you can expect from Blackpool.
Rick Doty going off in Blackpool. What the fuck?
What the
fuck? You don't have Jack Daniels in Blackpool? What the fuck?
Did I go get a kebab with Rick Doty?
You should have got a kebab with him. Yeah,
having a fish and chips on the seaside with Rick Doty.
Right. Yeah, that'd be amazing. Kicking back on.
Honestly, it was. It was just super. It was super weird. It was just it was fun, but it was just like, what is going on? How have I even ended up here? This is just this is abstract.
But when will you ever stop thinking that? Because like, I'm guessing, like Johnny Enoch. I mean, I don't know who Johnny Enoch is really, but like, and Rick Doty and the people who go to these conferences, at some point, do you think they've stopped going, oh my God, what am I doing here, man? Why am I here with?
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Like John,
so they've got to the point where it's normal for them. Yeah, this is normality.
Sure. But I mean, you guys just went off and spent like a weekend with a billionaire. Like, we're all living weird lives, to be honest, man. Like,
we are
doing some weird shit out here.
I'm still questioning it. It's like, I need a few.
Oh no, for sure. I think Johnny, I think someone like Johnny's been doing it for a while now, and because his whole thing really is like ancient civilizations and the mystery schools and esoteric knowledge and what we don't get taught in our traditional history. So he's all into that, and he's been doing it for years. So he, I mean, like, he's got what looks like a pretty sweet deal. He travels all over the world. He's in Venice at the moment. He's going to be in India soon. Like, he's always traveling, like doing
like conferences.
Yeah, and he's got two series on Gaia, about ancient civilizations and stuff. So he's obviously gets funding through Gaia and as well. But yeah, he does the conferences and he does all these talks all over the place. But he's such a cool guy, man. Like, he's so genuine. He's so genuine that he gave my channel a shout out at the conference on stage while he was doing his piece. Like, that's kind of
nice, man.
Pretty genuine, man. He was like, we were out in Egypt, and Jay from Project Unity is just down there. Great channel, check him out. I was like, see, that's like super genuine guy. Nice. And we just got on really well in Egypt. Like, we clicked like really quickly, a bit like us guys when we all kind of met online. We just meshed really easily. So I reckon you guys would love Johnny. We'll have to maybe bring him on. We should totally bring him on. Actually, you guys would love him. I think that'd be a good idea.
Oh, yeah.
Can you get me a show on Gaia? And
you got to get behind me, buddy.
No, I'm only joking, man. Like, Jesus, I'd run out of material pretty quick. He'd be like, episode 2 is the same as episode 1.
I don't know, man. You got a lot up in that old encyclopedic brain of yours. I think you could pull off a couple of series.
I'm the one over here going like, I don't know, man. Like, everybody keeps asking me like, what are you doing next? What are you doing next? And I'm like, I I don't know. And like, I guess Warner gave me a massive compliment. He's like, you just do things that nobody else does, man. And you kind of get into things that people aren't into.
Yeah, totally.
And you were just about it. And, you don't follow the mainstream of shit. And I'm like, I guess that's right. I never really have followed any main path at all. But
I think that's why we're all here, right?
Yeah. Oh,
that's why we're all here. But you get brilliant guests, dude. Like you have some really fascinating conversations. Plus you've just got a brilliant voice for podcasting as well.
Thanks,
it's very clear and it's fantastic.
It does.
The face could use an improvement.
I know. I need to get some kind of CGI.
According to John,
he's got some sort of filter going there because in real life he just sounds totally different. Yeah, he's just like.
It's amazing what technology can do these days.
It's not even really me at all.
This is real Jon Majerowski. Jesus, it's pounds in real life.
It took me about a year to realize I had those eyebrows on my head on these just flickering around.
That's
I miss the eyebrows.
I know a lot of people did. Miss the eyebrows.
No, but I honestly don't know. I've been like, I guess there's a lot of people. There's a huge buzz about the Patrick Jackson thing.
Yeah, I want to ask you about that.
Sure.
Yeah,
I watched it. I watched it yesterday.
Oh, rad.
Yeah. I thought that was really quite interesting. I didn't know anything about this guy, to be honest. Like that was quite mind blowing.
Yeah, he's in UK.
Weird,
he's near you guys, right? I mean, I should hook you up with him, but like he's got like data, like analysis, like he's got hard data on some of the shit. He's got a couple different people that have these things, and they're hiding them out. And like I see where he's going. I've never put that shit together the way he has before. And there's a lot of, which is weird. And I know it's good because I'm having people that are like. Some guy was a doctor from some other country and shit wrote me this massive email trying to debunk line by line all the shit he's talking about, and other people like talking shit, and there's like people are attacking him. So I'm thinking, okay, it's probably some legitimacy to some of this shit because people don't just come out of the woodwork and to me and just trying to debunk this guy, and I'm like, I'm just letting him talk. Like I don't prescribe to all of his shit, I'm just like trying to make a platform,
Well, what do you know? His idea that they're a sort of defense system on our behalf, against something else.
Yeah,
interesting. Like, and I mean, do you know, if you take it just from the idea that these things showed up at World War II, Foo Fighters,
right?
Like, I'm not, I saw some of the stuff as well, but prior to that, I saw the whole thing. But
yeah.
If you take it from there, that was another of Tesla's things, wasn't it? You wanted to create some kind of device that would monitor warfare. And it would monitor potential threats to humanity, an early form of AI, and then would activate itself to protect us. Yeah.
Yep.
Another one of the things that he said he was on the verge of actually producing, and maybe he did. So that's when I was listening to it, he made me think about Tesla.
That's a really good point. Yeah. That could
because that was one of his projects. That was one of the things that he said he was really heavily working on. This.
Whereabouts in the UK? Do you remember where he said he's from?
I don't.
Cambridge.
Is it Cambridge?
Yeah, I only know this because I listened to it yesterday. Yeah, like because
we should go meet him, dude. We should go meet him.
Yeah, no, he's down for it.
He sounds like scientific because this is the thing. When people start talking about science, I'm just like, I don't know. It's like,
you sound like John without the audio change.
Yeah, no, but he's an IT dude. He's an IT guy, and that's what gets me. He does. I might have this wrong, but basically, he takes databases that people have like screwed up for years. And like forensically goes through and figures out how they all are supposed to, like this part's supposed to go to here and it talks to this part. And like, that takes somebody like way beyond. I mean, I'm in IT and there's no way in hell I could do that. That's just like, that's a specialty skill. That's like, you got to really know data and know how it all works and know how all this shit happens. And I think that dude really applies that kind of mindset to like this. And he uses that kind of, and I'm like, wow,
I think that like, for me, like I say, like it makes a lot of sense if you leave out everything before 47 or before the war. It's not 47, before the 40s.
Yeah.
Like only because like the paintings from the past aren't reliable enough for me.
There's no proof. Yeah. But I mean, I guess
there's no proof of any of the other stuff either.
No. But I mean, like physically, the photos and things like that. But no, I mean, the descriptions and all that shit, it could be existence too. And then, but yeah, I mean, it could have been Tesla's tech. It could have been our tech. It could be new tech. It could, you know what I mean? That's mimicking old tech. It could be, pre-Dianistic tech. It could be any of that stuff. And what if it is? Because
I would love it if it was ancient, if it was like an ancient defense system that we just only discovered now.
Well, yeah. And then like when you talk about DeLong talking about I used to think UFOs were cool, but not so much, and it's like, well, what if these are just bad? Like UFOs are bad. I've heard that too. And like, what if these things are actually protecting us? I don't know.
Well, that'd be kind of cool, wouldn't it? But like, yeah, I don't know, man. Like, it's he's an interesting guy. Maybe we should go and meet him.
Yeah, you should.
Has he got one of these?
If he's down for it, yeah.
Not in the UK. There's one here in America, and another one's in Mexico. I think Mexico.
Well,
I think it could be interesting. I think it'd be cool. I think that could be get another trip on the old book. That was fun last time.
How far is that? How far is that for you guys to get to him?
What, to Cambridge from us?
A couple of hours.
Yeah, that's not bad.
It's a tiny island, dude. Like in comparison to your country, like
that's
crazy how small it is.
That's the thing, like when we sort of like any flight that went wrong in America, it was like, fuck yeah, it's so far away. How are we gonna get there? Checking
dude, I didn't realize how expensive internal flights are in your country. Like my friend in New York was saying it costs like $700 to get to Cali from New York or something. It's like, what?
That's not bad. That's not bad. We got
and that's not
Jean-Luc and I
deal.
were standing in line when they canceled our plane, and we're both on our phones. And I'm looking at this flight, and I'm like, oh, there's another flight. If we go to the other airport, we can get this flight. And we can still get home. And it's like $250. And I'm like, I'm going to book it. And then the phone locks up, and both of our phones lock up. And it's like, oh, fucking.
Oh, no.
Go back in. It's $1,400, right? The same
wow.
Day. Same flight, right? Yeah. And there was only one seat left. And I was like,
when that flight got cancelled, it was genuine. Like we were just, Warner drove us back from the countryside back to DC, to Dulles. And there was a massive storm.
Wicked storm.
Massive. Like it was proper, the car was getting buffeted. You had to pull over because the rain was that heavy, man. Like it went from being bright sunlight to being dark. Trees bending sideways.
Yeah, it was fucked.
So by the time he dropped stuff, it all cleared up, and it was just sort of like a light drizzle, but they were like, no planes are flying anywhere,
Oh, man. I wonder if that, I don't know if that was the same day. I'm trying to think. Were we in America at the same time as each other?
No,
I think you came a week after, didn't you?
Yeah,
you were there for July 4th, weren't you?
Yeah.
Because I got caught in some mad turbulence on the way back. It was awful. Not fun. Like rocket everywhere, man, for about the first 30 minutes of the flight.
We tried everything, dude. We walked from the fucking airport to like the car rental places. And then like they're like, nope, we don't rent one-way cars, because we were like, screw it, we'll just drive back. It's only like, I don't know, 9 hours. 9 hours. Like nobody would do us a one-way car, And I was
man,
so defeated at one point.
It really does sound like trains, planes, and automobiles. It's fantastic. I love it.
I don't know if this is representative. It sounds like it's probably representative of international travel, man. Like, Well, the flight that I got, my flight home, when I actually managed to get to Chicago to fly home, again, it was delayed for hours. And then what they did, right, was they just ditched a whole flight to Dublin. So all these Irish people that were supposed to be flying an hour after we did,
they just like, no, sorry guys,
they gave it to us.
Shit.
And then and there was a whole lot. And I saw some like really like when you see people getting angry with the check-in people.
Oh yeah.
It was American Airlines. Like there's this woman, she was going, "This is my holiday. I'm not going to make my connection. We're supposed to be in Prague for Sunday." Like, honestly, really going off them, like
as if it's that one person's fault at the airport. It's that one individual member of staff responsible.
I was just there eating my M&M's, going, "Yeah, it's the first time you've flown in a while, isn't it?" Well,
you know what I mean. To be honest, like
welcome to hell.
we were giving that guy shit too. This guy that we were trying to get like a hotel out of him, and he wouldn't even give us a hotel when he canceled our flight. Because Jean-Luc was trying to get it to him, and I was like, "Well, what do you want to do?" They're like, "Go see the sights." And I'm like, "For 24 hours, you want to wander around DC in the dark?" And anyways,
there's a storm warning on.
Yeah,
sounds perfect.
So the guy that we finally got the next day, we waited. We stayed again at Warner's. Thank God, Warner's amazing. Let us put us up again for the night. But then we stayed again. And he was the guy like checking our tickets when we were getting on. And I was like, "Hey, remember us?" He's like, "Yeah." I go, "We slept under a bridge last night." And he's like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, man. It was actually not too bad, but we stayed on the bridge over there." And the guy was like, "What?" And I was like, "Nah, man, I'm fucking."
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Like, dude, I don't know, man. It was a great time. I'm glad you guys got to experience America. Like in the
next time, totally. You'll have to come, Jay. Well,
oh my God. Yeah, totally. I mean, like, I had a great time, but I'd have loved to have been out there with you two having a riot. So we'll do it next time for sure.
Well, you know what? Actually, me and my whole family might come over to the UK and hang out.
That's it.
Oh, yeah, that's it. Nice. You got to do it before he runs off to Australia.
Yeah. So we're gonna. They still haven't released like the dates of the kids' first school when it starts. But after that, if we figure that out, then we can plan it out.
Yeah,
I can start bugging your Australian contacts when I get over there, mate.
Yeah,
like I can contact Ross Coulthard. I'd be like, "Oh, for fuck's sake, it's this prick, mate." Jesus Christ. I know about you, mate. I know.
Yeah. Jay's told me all about you. Yeah. Warned him, pre-warned him.
I'm going to talk shit.
Yeah. When are you going? Do you have a solid date for when you're going, or like?
I've got so much to do before I move. I'm moving to Australia, basically. For anyone who's listening, I've got to. Well, my family are all dual citizens, so it's simple enough. But I've still got to go through the whole visa process now.
Yeah.
Stuff out there, so I'm nearly done with that. My wife's transferring her job through her company. I've got to sell our house. I've got to sell all the things I own. I've got to ship everything that we're taking. Got to get my kids into new schools.
Crazy amount of stuff. Yeah, dude. It's so much.
It's so wild, man. Like, fuck, man. It's so much to think about. Like, I'm really excited about it. Like going back to Australia. But but
you just got to sort out all of those logistics.
The logistics of it are a nightmare for me, man. Like I'm terrible with administrative forms and making sure
nobody's good at that shit,
I'm
man.
just like, oh Jesus Christ, and this is all got to be right.
Just wing it. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. Just wing it.
Fine. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, come on into Australia. Well, you like UFOs and shit?
Get the fuck out. Yeah, just turn up with your sandals. You'll be fine.
Yeah,
you'll be fine. It'll be awesome, bro. Like I'm looking forward to eventually getting myself out there and seeing you.
Well,
it'll be cool.
I'll be living out like on the Great Ocean Road. That's the plan. So
nice.
Yeah, because that's where I lived before. Was in Melbourne, but we're just going to move up on the coast. So we want to live up on the surf coast and just chill. Have a nice time.
Sounds good.
Try and enjoy life.
Ease out the Great Reset.
Yeah, man. Like it's a big country and you can escape people there,
The UK is a fucking shitball right now, man. Everything over here, everybody's just like, that fucking place is just turning into a
UK is just falling apart, man.
The UK is falling apart, man. The UK is falling apart. A lot of places seem to be falling apart. We're in that time, that fundamentally important time, which is great. We're in the awakening of the human species, which means that we're in the absolute collapse of the old system. So who the fuck knows what's going to happen?
I'm kind of enjoying it.
Yeah, I attribute it to like the flower power 60s, 70s shit.
That's it, dude. That's it.
Happening
cruising it out, like just ride that wave of destruction.
Yeah, man.
Ride that sweet
up,
wave,
dude.
So, and with that, shall we close it for the evening?
We can.
Yeah, man.
We can do that.
I saw a message, so I didn't know if it was time. So it's time to wrap up.
Oh yeah, because that kid will just run and jump in here in a minute.
Go, that's cool, dude.
And then my wife would be like, "Why are you the fucking? Oh, what the fuck are you doing?"
Well,
it was,
she's not like that. I sound that she's gonna watch this and be like, "You're an asshole." I don't sound like that. She doesn't do that to me. Jean-Luc met her. She's a lovely lady. She's a very nice lady.
There we go.
He's got some lovely women around him. Like they're all, the ones that prop him up.
Yeah, that's right.
Sure he's well dressed. Like without them, like he'd just be wearing a vest. His hair would be unkempt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, basically be me.
It'd basically be you.
Yeah. I was like, I take personal offense to that vest comment.
It's you.
It's quite warm in this country at the moment. My goodness.
Are you kidding, man? Like you look great, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
You do.
Thank
you.
You
guys both look
sweet.
Great. You're
all beautiful.
Oh, you're all beautiful as well. Look at that, isn't it lovely? Thanks. We'll finish on that beautiful note. It's so good to catch up with you guys. It's been a little bit too long since we had a dream team.
Yes, we do.
Well, it's been a pleasure. We should do it again soon.
Yeah, and spread love.
Absolutely,
right?
Absolutely.
Like we always do.
Yeah. All right, guys.
All right.
Lots of love.
Adios.
Love you guys.
Bye-bye.
Adios. Adios.
Au revoir.
Arrivederci.
Hey, can you send me a copy of this?
Yeah.
I wanna have a personal archive.